Shalom, this is Yosef Oliver. If someone tells you that there's a threat, you are entitled to analyze the threat assessment because it's not real information to tell you because there are always threats. Threats, dangers, worries about safety are just part of functioning, existing in this world. And therefore, it is not really meaningful to be told that you are in danger. What is meaningful is the specific calculation of why now the danger has increased to the extent that measures must be taken that would come at the expense of other things. That is the only relevant information. Now, especially when this is coming from a government is not a entity whose sole interest is health. They have many other interests, many other considerations that they make in their calculations. And that's really not able to be denied. So if a private doctor would be giving you his or her opinion and it would say something about the amount of change you must make in your life, and then they would give you their assessment, their explanation of their assessment, well, that would be legitimate. But especially when it comes to the government, all the more so, you should demand to see the details of this assessment, this risk analysis. You can't take them at their word. You can't trust them. You can't trust them. That's so naive. It's so foolish. Especially when they've told us lies so many times in the past. And especially when you see that they're trying to cover what they're doing. They're hiding the threat assessment. So in this case, in the case of COVID-19, we're being told that there are mathematical models that justify these harsh measures. Okay, well then let us see them. Let us examine them. Now, in the case of Australia, so measures were taken based on claims made by, in the case of Victoria, they were told that coronavirus would have claimed as many as 700 lives by today from New South Wales, that's a state in Australia, had New South Wales not forged ahead with tougher lockdown measures. Now, Victoria's chief health officer said, theoretical modelling shows some 36,000 people would have died from coronavirus in Victoria if physical distancing restrictions were not put into place. So they're making the claim that they have models, theoretical modeling, that is so very scientific and reliable that it justified these measures. And the reason that they didn't come true, the measures were put in place. Well, obviously, that's completely, it's an argument that is not falsifiable. So it is in the sense that you can't set up a scenario, at least not again in New South Wales and Victoria, without having done that. But what we do know is that there've been other places where there haven't been lockdowns and there haven't been vast numbers of deaths. In any case, these models in Australia, as in other places, are not available to the public. Well, if they're hiding their models, then that begs the question, why? Why would they hide their models? If these are such reliable, solid, scientific uh, calculations, they should let everyone share them with everyone. We're entitled to see it, and if it's such a solid model that it warrants this drastic response, well, let us see it. But no, they're not available to the public. These models are, we're told, we have the models, we have them, but it's okay. You can rely on us that these models are accurate. Never mind that numerous models in the past were proven not to be true, but this time you can rely on our words. Well, this reminds me of the case of Building 7, a different kind of thing, but still we'll see a certain similarity. Building 7 collapsed inexplicably on the afternoon of 9/11, 5:20 in the afternoon, and the question is, what caused it to collapse? It was a football field away from the Twin Towers, and it collapsed in 6.5 seconds. And there were only scattered fires on some floors. It wasn't engulfed with flames. And it collapsed very quickly. For 10 feet of the collapse, NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, admits that it collapsed at free fall speed. So what caused such a dramatic, unprecedented collapse of a building from fires alone? Well, NIST claims that it collapsed from fires, but they can't explain to you exactly how that works. In a statement, Patrick Gallagher, director of NIST, in 2009, July 9th, he states that I find that the disclosure of the information described below, received by NIST in connection with its investigation of the technical causes of the collapse of World Trade Center towers and World Trade Center Building 7 on September 11, 2001, might jeopardize public safety. Therefore, NIST shall not release the following information, and this includes all input and results files of the 16-story collapse initiation model with detailed connection models that we use to analyze the structural response to thermal loads, break element source. Anyway, point is, they made mathematical models for how the buildings collapsed. It's based on this that they're telling us that the buildings collapsed because of the scattered fires from the debris, supposedly, but they won't show us the models. Well, there's a saying in the Talmud, one who seeks to lie will distance his witness. So you have someone who you claim can support your case, but you can't bring that witness to court to testify. You'll say, well, he's out of town today and he can't make it, but he can testify. So you make a claim, you say that there's proof, but then you find a pretext for not bringing the proof out so that it can be analyzed and it can be examined. So here, in the case of Building 7, it's amazing. It says that it might jeopardize public safety. How would the explanation of how a collapse because of fires, how would that jeopardize? How could that possibly have jeopardized public safety? It's just a technical matter that, in some way, that NIST knows. The fires in the buildings, according to the official story, somehow caused these collapses. Well, if that's the case, if that's a clear-cut case that they have, a scientific case, even though it's completely unprecedented, no steel frame building has ever collapsed by fire. Well, they should be able to show us the models based on which they came to the conclusion that the buildings collapsed in this way. The fact that they're hiding them, and especially they're saying because of national, might jeopardize public safety. for whatever reason they give is irrelevant. The fact that they're hiding it shows that they have something to hide. It shows that these models are not what they claim. And so too here, when it comes to these models that are being hidden from us, which they claim prove the necessity of these measures, we cannot trust them. We must um, assume that this is proof of essentially a foul play. Um, if the models would be so clear and solid, they would show them to us. Let independent scientists, analysts, epidemiologists, people in related disciplines, let them analyze this information. And science is about debate, discussion, through which one reaches the truth or clarity. If they're so feel so bad about imposing these measures, wouldn't they feel good to hear that they're not necessary based on a critique of their model? What do they have to hide? So that's my message. Whenever you're told there's a risk, that's not meaningful information. It's too general. You're told that the shul has to be locked, the synagogue has to be locked because security. Well, that's meaningless. You have to prove that there's a significant danger. That therefore, you have to take much more strict measures than you did until now. The burden of proof is on the one who's making the claim that there is danger if he wants to disrupt people's lives at all. Aside from the fact that whenever you take any measure, that gives people the impression that there's something to be afraid of. So if there's nothing to be afraid of, and you take an action as if there's something to be afraid of, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, that creates fear. As if, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's not necessarily so. It could be that the measure is being taken for some other considerations, for perhaps insurance considerations or some other non-security related considerations. But the innocent, naive person on the street doesn't realize anything. Oh, we're taking measures for security. Oh, it must be much more dangerous. So you're essentially spreading fear unnecessarily. So that's, it's not that, oh, well, why not take more? Why not take this measure? There's a cost benefit analysis to be made. So, of course, here there's a very obvious, blatant, certain loss, which is the shutdown of the economy and the devastation it's causing on people's private lives. So really, if they're claiming that this is so necessary, the burden of proof is on them to show us their so very accurate models. If they don't show it to you, then be extremely suspicious. And that's aside from any other issues, like the fact that the standards of testing are flawed. They only check for coronavirus and not for COVID-19, and that even without a test, in many places, they're assuming that COVID-19-like conditions are enough to classify that as COVID-19, and so on and so forth, all the other issues. Even without it, the very fact that they're hiding the models, which are the basis for these measures, the claim that the countries will be overrun with cases and they'll overwhelm the hospitals, that requires proof and not just a claim based on an argument from authority if they want to impose these measures. Okay, God bless, and thanks for listening. Please subscribe to my videos. Thank you.